Welcome into season 24 of Armchair Quarterback. I'm David Allen, host of Two Daves and a Mic podcast, but I am with my guys, Coach Guy Suttle, and back with us this year, looking better than ever, Mr. Rob Roop. Hey, listen, we have a great time right here on Armchair Quarterback. We're glad you're with us for the season 24. I think I was like 6 years old when we started this thing, Coach.
Yeah, and I think I had hair. Of course, I wasn't on the set at that time, but go ahead.
Long time ago at this point, but hey, I tell you one thing's for sure. We have enjoyed talking Cleveland County football over that time. We probably need to go back and check our record or something and see, but we've won a bunch of state championships. We've won a bunch of football games. We've lost a few, but we've won a bunch right here in this armchair that we sit in. But we were just saying before we came on the air, one of the things that is going to be really interesting about this season is that all four schools have new quarterbacks, Coach.
Yeah, and so that means that there are four head football coaches that are really going to have to figure out what exactly is my team going to do this year. Am I going to be a rushing team? Am I going to be a passing team? Am I going to be hybrid? You know, a lot of questions have to be answered pretty quick.
The one caveat, though, Rob, when I say four teams with four new quarterbacks, one team has the quarterback that started for another team last year, and that's KJ Bell switching from Kings Mountain to Crest.
Yeah, you got KJ Bell, a 2,000-yard rusher from last year, but not only having to learn a new team, Mark Barnes taking back over at Crest again, a new head coach. So KJ in a situation where he's got to process a lot, getting to know a new team as well. So going to be really interesting. I mean, there could be times we're looking at 3 freshman quarterbacks out there for the county.
Absolutely. He mentions new coach, Mark Barnes, not so new. He's been here before, left, and now he's back over at Crest. And Coach, very successful tenure when he was at Crest the first time.
Yeah, and it's a process. You know, I worked with Coach Barnes or coached with Coach Barnes there, and it is a process. And KJ is going to learn very quickly that everything is by progression. Coach Barnes is not going to have in all the plays this Friday night that he will have in on week 15. So, you know, it's a process, it's a progression, and Coach Barnes has been doing it a long time. I think this is probably, not counting the years that he had with his brother prior to graduating college that he helped his brother Daryl coach. This is probably 40 or 42 seasons for Coach Barnes.
So definitely a lot of experience to draw from there for Coach Barnes over at Crest. But I tell you what, one of the great things too about this, you know, opener for us is that right off the bat we get to talk about Cleveland County matchups, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll really get the chance to preview all four teams by talking about this week's matchup. So let's talk about Crest and Burns to start with, Rob. And as we've already mentioned, Crest coming off the state championship with Coach Lloyd. Now Coach Barnes is back. He's got a new quarterback. But as we said, the new quarterback is at least familiar with these Cleveland County rivals as he played in them last year.
The thing I like about, and really this is going to apply for me for all four teams, I like all four defenses this year. Mm-hmm. And I think all four are going to have quality defenses, and we all know defense plays.
Right.
You know, regardless of weather, regardless of time of year, that defense is going to keep you in the game. So I think it's going to be important for all four teams to show that early. Again, how does Crest settle in? New offense under KJ, but he's got a lot of weapons behind him. When you look at Majay Thompson, Brock Melton, those kind of guys, if you can get the ball into their hands, they can make things happen. But again, how quick can you settle in against this good Burns team?
One way to settle in, Coach, is get a running game going, and we can talk about that for, again, all four teams. Yeah. But what specifically should we look for from the Chargers in the running game?
You know, again, Coach Barnes is going to adapt his attack, his offense, to what works best for him. And Rob can remember the first time that Coach Barnes' tenure was at Crest, he had a different quarterback, except for Willie Green, and technically Willie was only 1 year with Mark and then Will Clark the next year. But he had a different quarterback each time, and he evolved his offense that way. Patrick Bowman was a hybrid run pass, not him himself running, but it was a good mix of run pass, where PJ was actually more running game. We were running triple option with PJ. And then you get to Michael, and Michael was more of a passing quarterback. So he's going to adopt his offense to what his quarterback can do. The thing and we're glad that they have a great defense. The thing that's going to be interesting this Friday night for me with Burns is, will Burns try to play keep away from Crest? And we talk about Burns' offensive line. You got Max Davis. You have a power running team. And if you remember 2 years ago when Burns was at Crest and had a rain out or a delay or something like that, Burns controlled the second half running the football.
That's me. If I've got a chance, if I'm the Bulldogs Friday night, I give the ball to Max Davis. I get behind Gage Camp, and we go straight down the field. And like you said, I want to eat up clock. I want to move the chains. Burns does that. Can really be a recipe for success, because it's going to be a hot night. It's going to be humid. So keep your offense out there. Sustain those drives.
Coach, mentioning obviously Max Davis for Burns. One way they're going to have to figure out it for him is how not to wear him out playing both ways. Last year, he was almost on the field every play. Yeah. And, of course, when it got late in the season, that game against Shelby in the final game of the year, and then in the playoffs, he was a little banged up.
Yeah, and you know, that's something that all coaches have to worry about. I can remember when Trey Harbison was running back at Crest, Coach Barnes limited his carries early in the year. You know, Trey was probably running the ball anywhere from 20 to 26 times a game. By the end of the year, when we're going to the state championship, things of that nature, is running the ball 30, 32 times. So, yeah, there are ways that coaches can play that. And I think Max has had some injuries from playing both ways, and some issues he's had to deal with, aches and pains, to where if he can limit the snaps, the carries, that's good for them later on down the road. But still, though, when you're opening up with Crest, Cleveland County School, the first game of the season, man, it's hard to pull that guy out and say, hey, we're just limiting your carries tonight.
Well, he's talking about limiting carries 20 to 26. That doesn't sound like you're limiting anybody's carries, Rob. Trey Harbison, he was a guy that could get you 35 or 40 carries a game. Let's stay with the Burns Bulldogs, though, and talk about that quarterback situation. We talked about we will see the freshman, good-looking kid in the Jamboree. We saw him. He's about 6'3". He comes in there. He looks like he's a pocket passer. But they started that Jamboree with the Wells kid, the senior, and he is more of a utility knife kind of guy. He's going to be able to run some option, throw the ball a little bit, keep it himself. So that's going to give Coach Devine some options on offense at quarterback as well.
And you also have to take into consideration the freshman versus senior aspect of that, not from the talent-wise, just from physical development. You know, as a freshman coming in 14 years old versus 17, 18-year-old senior, been in the weight room, those kind of things. So how does your body hold up physically in this kind of game? I think that'll drive a lot of what Coach Devine does as well.
Well, let's talk, Coach, you said before we started, let's not forget to talk about the weather. So let's talk about the weather. I know you want to talk about the rain, but let's specifically talk about the heat and humidity. At this point now, 10 days in a row, over 90-plus degrees with the crazy humidity that we deal with here in this part of North Carolina. But we're talking about practice time has been limited because of the wet globe or whatever, all that wet bulb stuff, and there's some concern. I would think there's some concern of how much practice time they're going to get in this week leading into these big games to start the season on Friday night.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I think most of the county schools or the schools this week with preparation, they've been hydrating, they've been eating plenty of pasta, things of that nature. But there are also a lot of on the board, a lot of film study, things of this nature. They probably haven't been going out on the field to 6:15. That's tough on those kids when you've been in school all day, and then basically you're waiting around on the weather to cool off enough to go out there. The heat indices have just been off the chart. That could affect it Friday night as far as start times. If these athletic trainers go out there and deem it, that it's the heat index is too high to start a game. Luckily, we're going at 7:30. I think the Big South has adopted 7 p.m. I'm just not sure that's going to happen anywhere in this area unless you get that thunderstorm to possibly cool some things off.
Well, you mentioned thunderstorms. We've almost had one of those every night too. Make your point about the rain.
Okay,
that
yeah.
you wanted to make.
Someone asked me that. When do you make it up? When do you do anything like that? Remember the schedule for these schools right now. If you don't play on Friday night, and this is athletic director, assistant in football for a number of years talking. If you don't play on Friday night, your gate is shot. It really is, because people just they dedicate Friday and Friday night to high school football. They don't do a whole lot different. They don't vary their schedule. Saturday is Saturday. We're going to do what we do. Monday is Monday. We do what we do on Mondays. It's not a real popular with administration. It's not popular with teachers that are working as gatekeepers, things like that. But from a coaching standpoint, you really actually want to move that game to Saturday so that you can have a normal preparation week for the next game. If you wait till Monday, now that whole week is all screwy. As far as you got to play a game on Monday, you still got preparation. You have to get them ready to hydrate them and play them again on Friday night. Where if you play on Saturday, Sunday, the coaches still come in on Sunday afternoon and do their preparation. The kids can have a normal week going into the next week. And we know with Crest playing Burns one week, Shelby the next, and Kings Mountain's in the same situation. Those gates are big. This is how they pay for their athletic programs. If you don't play on Friday night, that gate is shot. Okay, it's just not going to be as good. Doesn't matter if you play Saturday or Monday. So you might as well what's best for your team.
And people like me who been around for a minute think back and go, well, that's not how it used to be. You're right. That's not how it used to be, because used to be on other nights of the weekend, we rode the strip out there between Burger King and the Chicken Ranch, and then back around,
right.
and then
He's
back
right.
around. Well, there's a lot more to do these days for folks, and they are not as committed to anything other than, as Coach said, Friday night. So when we look at this Burns and Crest matchup, again, talking about the individual teams and what they have to do, Rob, what would you say are keys to victory for both squads coming into Friday night?
I was starting with Burns, again, going back to ball control, eat up the clock. Got to keep the receivers for Crest in front of you. Don't let those guys take advantage of the speed that they have. If I'm Crest, I want to get playmakers in the space. And one thing I think to keep an eye on too, we talk about players back. I think Carson Greer, the kicker for Crest, is a huge weapon for the Chargers this year. And let's be honest, before last year, we all kind of sat around going, where's the kicking game at? Well, now with Crest, you got a big opportunity here with the kicking game to really get things going.
All right. We will take a timeout right here on Armchair Quarterback, and when we come back, we'll focus on that Shelby Kings Mountain game. We'll do that right after this. You're watching Armchair Quarterback.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
This is the place that I was able to go forth with my education. I've been to different places. I've tried to do this a few times and I wasn't able to get my GED until I came here again. And now I succeeded. I thought it was going to take me 2 years, 2 to 3 years, yes. It took me 3 to 4 months.
We always have had
That's
a
true.
certain courtesy to other people upon their retirement or somebody's passing.
I got something nice to say about our retirement.
Well, we're not.
Good riddance.
Oh, listen to you.
First, he put giant flagpoles on the White House lawn like it was a Buc-ee's, and then he cemented over the Rose Garden. Then he turned the Oval Office into a place that looks like a New Orleans cat house.
Well, I'm sure President Obama evaluated both candidates and went with the best one, better one.
Yeah, one of
But
them
I
had a D
was-
by her name.
Well, one cannot help but wonder why. Betsy, one possibility would be that the Hurricanes are now afraid to enter the newly named Gulf of America while Trump's in the White House.
Welcome back into Armchair Quarterback Season 24. I'm David Allen along with Coach Guy Suttle and Rob Roop. Each week we talk about our Cleveland County football teams. We'll talk a little college football, a little pro football. Still here on Monday the 17th as we're shooting this a little bit early for both of those other two, but we got a little filler. We can talk some top 40. That's Casey Kasem. We'll talk some top 25. Maybe.
I say, I don't know if I'm going to find 40 teams.
We'll talk a little top 25 with college football possibly. And, you know, ESPN's going crazy about my Cowboys, so I might have to get a word in there about that as well. Let's focus now and turn our attention to the second ball game of the week, and that is Kings Mountain at Shelby. And, of course, you know, the Golden Lions coming off of an incredible state championship performance, Coach, scoring 84 points. I mean, good grief, that was just an insane track meet up there in the state championship game. But obviously replacing Lamb Farmer at quarterback is going to be the big question for Shelby this year.
Hey, you know, Highland Tech shouldn't feel so bad now.
No, that's correct.
After Shelby hangs 84 on somebody in the state championship. You know, it again, we talked about in the first segment about it being a process. We know that Coach Will Banks went in January and said, you know, we had the state championship, we still got the banquet, we still got to get our rings, but here we are in January. It is January of 2026. That team is behind us. We got to start over. You know, he does the process where they have to earn their Golden Line shirts and things of that nature through their work in the weight room. So, you know, everything's a process. I promise you, Shelby is not going to live off past success. They're going to move forward, and, you know, defensively, it's going to be a challenge. I think everybody understands the offense and that everybody's got a new quarterback. Lamb Farmer's not there. Saw a couple of highlights from Gardner Webb. He's spinning the ball well there too. So, you know, it all goes back to the process, and the process is that Shelby and Kings Mountain square off against each other. From what I understand, Kings Mountain's got a good quarterback that can really spin it. You could spin it in 707, but it's a little tough when those five guys are rushing at you.
One of the things that helps take some of that pressure off the skill folks, Rob, is the trenches for both offense and defense. And Shelby returns whatever star you want to put on them, big star. We'll just say on, you know, you got Hollifield on the offensive line and you got Tyson Williams on the defensive line for Shelby.
Yeah, you know, you talk about just guys up front that can make a difference, and with both those guys are able to do that. The thing I like about this Shelby team, yeah, you're working a new quarterback, but I start looking around him. I've got so many things that I can do to help make him comfortable. Mm-hmm. I got a running back like Jonas Woods that I can give the football to. Man, that's a nice little luxury to have behind that offensive line. I've got a player like Man Collins, knowing that I get the ball into his hands, there's a chance it's going for a touchdown every time he touches it. So there's a big opportunity there to help get a new quarterback comfortable. And if I have to leave the freshman, if I have to go to Raper and let him get the few carries at quarterback, I also know I've got somebody that's been in the system, understands what it takes to be a Golden Lion. So the chances are there. A tough game to get started against a very good Kings Mountain defense, but all the weapons are in place to help make it be successful.
And of course, we're talking about Cruz Scott as the sophomore potential starter on Friday night against Kings Mountain. And Rob mentioned Kendrick Raper, senior athlete. He's been recruited. All the stuff you see about him is the athlete, and he is absolutely that. And when he gets his snaps at quarterback, assuming he'll get some, whether it's as a backup or as a starter or just as a change of pace, whatever, he brings a whole lot of a different package to the table with that athletic ability that he has.
Yeah, and that's something that defensive coordinators have to prepare for. It's almost like Shelby has two different offenses when Raper's in, and so they have to prepare for that. Hey, when he comes in, you have the possibility of these plays coming at you, where with the other kid, it's a different offense.
Well, and Rob, you mentioned Emmanuel Collins. Tyler Morgan returns to Shelby this year. We saw what he could do year before last at Shelby. He was one of their most potent weapons on the offensive side. And you already mentioned Jonas Woods. And then they had the Tate kid. He's a track guy that got in there in the jamboree and took one to the house. He's got a lot of speed. So there are still, coming off that big win last year against Kinston, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism on the field for Shelby.
I know it's very unusual that we get on here and talk about Shelby having athletes. I know that's a shocker for everybody's been watching these 20 some odd years. First going to talk about Shelby and athletes is very unusual. But you're exactly right, David. Again, can my quarterback get comfortable?
Yeah.
And if he gets comfortable, Shelby's going to be hard to slow down.
And that's that Kings Mountain's almost going to say the same thing. Can they get this freshman quarterback comfortable? We know we can spin it. We know we can throw it. Is he going to be able to get comfortable either as a pocket passer or the zone read and come off of it and throw the ball from there? All of that takes a little bit of time, and you're not going to have much time with Shelby's defensive line. There's just too much speed there.
So we're talking about Jordan Jenkins, the freshman at Kings Mountain. Saw him in the Cleveland County Jamboree. Then they got canceled on Friday night over at Stuart Kramer. I assume it was the thunderstorm came through there and knocked that Jamboree out. So Kings Mountain didn't get that opportunity on Friday night. But one of the big missing pieces from that Kings Mountain offense is Tex Vaughn. Tex thought initially was going to go to Boston College because he wanted to play wide receiver. Ends up at NC State as a tight end, but whichever place you play him in the collegiate ranks, you're missing a stud daddy on the offensive side of football for Kings Mountain this year.
And so for me, with him being gone, this is Xavier Hutchins' chance to really show that he's got a chance to be the man in that offense.
Yep.
If Jenkins can get the ball out to him, Xavier Hutchins can be that difference maker for this team offensively. But again, the question for me comes, Kings Mountain's offensive line against that Shelby defensive front. I think Jenkins already holds a D1 offer college-wise, so all the hype's there for the young man. It's just a matter of, can you protect him, keep him upright? If he's looking at a lot of sky Friday night, it could be a long night. If Shelby can't get to him and allow him to stand back there, then he starts finding those receivers, and we got a good ball game on our hands.
I will say, as we showed the graphic there, Burns at Crest, Kings Mountain at Shelby, early in the season, you just never know. Sometimes it's the little things. Kicking game, Shelby returns Matthew Grenier at place kicker. I know last year, even in the state championship game, I think he was like 11 for 11 for extra points.
Yeah.
So, those little things, obviously turnovers and penalties as well, are big things in the season openers and even the early couple of games. And as we know with all four of our teams, it's Burns and Crest this week and Shelby and Kings Mountain, but then next week it's Shelby and Crest and Kings Mountain and Burns. So they're going to battle out for the next 2 weeks, and that makes it a lot of fun for us to talk about that. Let's switch gears for just a second, talk a little bit about college football. The transfer portal and the NIL stuff continues. You still have all this swirling controversy about whether the SEC is going to leave the NCAA. There's a story for everything every day, seemingly in reference to college football. But what we do know is the fat cats are getting fatter, Coach. And here we go as we start this season with, if you look at the top 20 or even the top 10, it's all the same teams that were there last year. Ohio State, at least at this point, the preseason #1.
Yeah, and what are we doing with the other Division I teams? Like you say, in the transfer portal, is that turning other D1 programs into the minor leagues for the SEC? I mean, or for the top 10, because it seems like all the time, a quarterback or a running back or a skill position player has left North Carolina, has left NC State, has left Wake Forest, and gone to an SEC school, or the vice versa. Maybe I've won a national championship or done really well in the SEC, had a little bit of an injury, and I end up at Miami or Florida State or something like that. Are we turning some Division I schools into the minor leagues for the SEC and the other upper echelon schools?
Well, Rob, to his point, you had the kid from Tulane that ended up last year at Duke playing quarterback. Now this year he's going to be at Miami playing quarterback, and Miami, according to this, of course, they played in the national championship game last year, and they are preseason #7, and they got one vote, probably somebody from the Miami Herald, as the #1 team in the country. So Miami returns a lot of guys, but they also went out and got them a quarterback. And again, it's like he said, Duke, Tulane, are they just, filling out the rosters sometimes?
Well, and here's another thing I think it impacts too, with what we're talking about with our local teams, the high school kid.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, especially linemen.
Yes.
If I'm a D1 school, I'm not recruiting a high school senior anymore. If I can go get a third or fourth year player out of William and Mary, who's been in the weight room for 3 or 4 years at the college level, versus a high school kid, unless he is that 5-star, can't miss prospect, those kids are missing out on opportunities as well.
Yep.
So it's impacted from top to bottom now with the transfer portal, and it's really making it a case of the haves versus the have-nots.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on it this season. Again, just a lot of uneasiness as far as I'm concerned with what's going on in college football right now. Hey, we got about, 90 seconds left, 80 seconds left. Let's talk quickly about the Carolina Panthers. Didn't look great the other day at Buffalo in the preseason, but again, it's the preseason. Coach, the biggest thing for the Panthers this year is they're playing that first place schedule. This is going to be a difficult schedule this year for the Panthers.
Yeah, and they may end up with a lot less record with seemingly a little better roster. They've made some better moves or had some moves that has improved the roster, but the record not be as well because of the way the NFL works. You're playing a different, like you said, a different type of schedule with more upfront teams.
Rob, how about your boys? They shipped off their head case to the Patriots. Does that mean they're going to be better this year, or are they going more of the same for the Eagles?
Again, we talk about coaches and another year, a new offensive coordinator. How quick can you settle in and learn a new system?
And listen, I know a lot of folks in Shelby because I grew up here, follow the Commanders in Washington or follow the Falcons in Atlanta. I'm just telling you, the Falcons are a dumpster fire at quarterback. Stay tuned. Hey, that's all the time we got this week for Armchair Quarterback. We'll see you next week right here on Armchair Quarterback.